The Stanton side of the Stanton-Terra Jumpgate features a station, and while smaller than the Stanton-Pyro Jumpgate station, it is reasonably large, and it's one of the larger stations that is now in the game. It should be noted that as of the morning of October 4, they already have beacons to all three of the Jumpgate stations, so you can visit them without the fancy coordinates and without having to hunt anything down. You can see that this is a little quieter, dare I say, than the one that we've seen at Pyro, and we're going to go back to that in another video I'm putting together. But this one is about the Terra Jumpgate. Now, the Terra Jumpgate has double-sided signage, which I find very interesting. And in particular, the Terra system is part of the UEE. So when you see the signage, it looks the same, but it doesn't talk about customs to declare and such, like all goods must be declared at customs and all this other crazy stuff. And due to the fact the station does not seem as robust on its defenses, although they're there, I would suggest that this is treated more as a safer space, system to system jump point, versus the Pyro jump point is like the edge of the UEE empire. So the UEE basically has to keep massive amounts of resources and defenses, and has to have customs that are much stricter to protect the UEE from the lawless space that is Pyro. Now, I should note that there is a theory that is being postulated that one, or maybe even both, of these other systems will be brought online alongside Pyro, because Pyro is lawless space, and that means it's not for everybody. People that are looking for a more calm gameplay or more organized gameplay without so much PvP, without some of the factors that do with NPC pirate organizations and maintaining relations with not so savory folks to be able to operate in Pyro smoothly at Ruin Station, or at the very least stay neutral to them, means that Pyro may become person non grata for some people, where they basically go foraying into it to get a fight or to rescue somebody, but really they don't live there. These other systems, if one of these or both of them was brought online around the same time as Pyro, it would allow for players that are not necessarily so inclined towards towards the Pyro lifestyle, let's call it, to be able to have new places to explore. You have to remember that the only system we've ever known is Stanton. And while you open the ARC map, there's lots and lots of places in there, hundreds of locations, and over 100 systems. You have to remember that in here, in what the known space that we have in our little pocket, all we've ever known is Stanton. And the solar system of Stanton has been getting kind of long in the tooth, and it is a very built-up system with 4 massive megacorps, but it's kind of like this interesting vibe where Pyro is the extreme opposite of Stanton. It's not as developed. It's nowhere, well, it used to be. That's a topic for a whole nother day, about all the dead corporations that are over there. But most importantly, it is the polar opposite of Stanton. So there's no in between for anyone. Whereas these other systems, and in particular, I'm cheering for Nyx, but that's not one of the jump points, is it? But these other systems will help us progress towards having different levels of development, and not necessarily be completely covered in pirates like what we've seen in Pyro, but still not as constricted as Stanton, where you can stake your claim and perhaps build an outpost easier in these areas that are less built up and less intrusive, where you're basically, when you land in Stanton, there's very little space that is not controlled by a megacorp. And I think Aaron Halo, for example, is one of them that's going to come in eventually, that's like going to be something, but I'm just having a hard time seeing it at this time. Plain and simple, that's how it is. Now, that was right there was the Terra Jumpgate inside of Stanton. So both sides of the Stanton-Terra Jumpgate. I'm now going to the station that's there. This was all recorded on 4. So actually, there was an entire build between then and now. But the station is operational for the most part. I should note that in the current builds, do not try to use docking or undock. It's not very pleasant right now. And that also kind of means that the Hull C is not really ready for prime time just yet. I'm sure that'll get fixed. It is the PTU after all. It's going to be buggy. But I will say that the stability of the server is excellent. I did not experience a single 30K, and I apologize for even uttering that into spoken word, because I know how some people feel about it. But if you look around the system, you look around the stations, there's a lot to see, and it seems to be that the server FPS is kind of all over the place still. I noted that in the Pyro video, that the server FPS was kind of getting a little weird, sorry, it was the 3.21 live 3.21 PTU original video, and I noted that the server FPS seemed to be all over the place more than usual, and it would go all the way from like 3 to 11, and it seems like it's still doing that. And I've noticed that the NPCs are kind of all over the place as well, where sometimes they're really behaving well, and then other times they're really outlandish in their behaviors. So you can note right there that one of my pet peeves that I can't put a helmet inside my gear. Also, I cannot just attach it to my belt or my suit's gear or something. As a motorcycle rider, I'm one of those people that can literally just take my motorcycle helmet and take its little safety latch and slip that together right on my belt, and I can walk around with it. But in this game, you cannot do such a thing. I should probably do a video at some point about those type of things. Like, why don't we have holsters yet for clothing? You know, I want to be able to walk around with my Nerf gun inside the Fleet Weeks and the IAEs and stuff. And also, of course, jackets over flight suits, the common ones. But I do have one surprise, I think, for that video that I'm going to hold back. And only because if I try to explain it, I'm going to make it sound really terrible and dumb. And if I just show you a few pictures of it and really talk it through, after about 10 seconds, you'd get it. Like, you'd really get the vibe I'm trying to go for. And it's from one of my beloved shows. So, if you look at the medical area here, it's significantly large, and I think that's designed to support the amount of people that are expected to go through this area. This is going to be a major thoroughfare, and if you look at the map of the UEE space, first of all, at least initially, there's going to be a massive amount of players just jumping around from system to system to system. But more importantly, we're going to have this kind of like gold rush mentality of players that need to move back and forth. And I also would suggest that players that start in a will pick Stanton as a starting system, but other ones may pick these other systems, and then their friends are going to have to constantly transit back and forth to visit them until they bring them back or they reset into another location or something. But I think there's something to be said in the in that you basically have these large stations that are excellent support structures. So all too common now. We have a Galleria here, and unfortunately, it feels a lot like the other stations. This is part of the modular station issue. You can also see that there's pockets of no oxygen. Right after I healed myself up and ate and drank and such. Such is life. But inside these stations, we have these labyrinths that are just kind of assembled as modular pieces with these shops and restaurants and such. And it's kind of frustrating now, especially because we know they can do better.
What?
And plain and simple, there's not enough identity in each one of these stations.
Use your Moby. All the info's right there.
Sometimes I like just messing with the NPCs just to see what they'll do. And sometimes I suffocate. So that's the second no air pocket I found just in this area alone. That's actually a pretty common issue on not just new stations that are still being built and tested and such, but also on new ships. Interestingly, especially the bigger ones. The 890 had a notorious one in the restaurant for multiple patches, and I was like, what is this? Like the one place you'd want to take your helmet off is a restaurant. So you can see the Big Benny's hologram. The hologram at Magnus is much nicer than the one that is at Terra. And I mean, I could probably do a whole video on these holograms because they're actually pretty interesting. There was a video Jared and his crew did about hologram technology with the fellow who makes them. And they started out, I think it was Area 18, with like a giant hologram hot dog or something. It was at least one of the early ones, and that's the one they were proud of. And obviously they have elevated their game on the hologram effects and the shaders and whatnot. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Some of these places are, very common nowadays, but the lighting has really elevated its game recently. By the way, spoiler alert, I don't actually manage to get the dang ice cream. Just won't quick buy. So I do watch the other videos that cover the same content as me to try to get ideas about what I missed and what I could do better and such. And almost every single one of them, to a T, said the words, "These stores are usable. You can buy food, you can buy drinks." There's an addendum to that. Only certain things are usable on these experimental stations right now. They're very clunky. Like, it's quite a shame. So next up is my visit to Seraphim Station on the latest build for October 4. And I gotta tell you, I have mixed feelings about this. Not just because this replaced Port Olisar. Rest in peace, PO. I hope we see you again. But also, the way you land here now in the hangars is like Tease's spaceport over on Lorville, the city that is on Hurston. It's very frustrating. And if I was in a ship I'm not as familiar with, like I am really, really familiar with my 325A and my 350R. In this case, it's a 325A. I'm very familiar with these ships. And, even then I was like still like double checking myself and checking my certainty and lowering my landing gear in the correct timing, everyone. But literally throwing this together, and I still like bumped it back slightly. I'm not very fond of that opening, and when you look at the size of the hangar, you can see that they could have added more space around the edges to make it more comfortable. It's not a question of whether you could do it. It's just a question of, can you do it quickly, and can you do it every single time and reliably just knock it out? It shouldn't be something that's very annoying to do. So if you look at this station, though, it feels like a lot of the old. The pads as being the primary method of you getting on and off this station is gone. And Seraphim itself is certainly, it harkens back to the PO days. It has the rings, but the pads and the cargo dock and everything that have been put in, the hangars and the cargo docks and the docks and such that are put in, more on the docks in a bit, oh boy, just feel kind of weird. If you look here, the ASOPs are in like a two-tier system.
Please visit us again. Welcome to the ASOP vehicle retrieval system.
I gotta say, the ASOPs in recent patch cycles have actually gotten pretty good. The building blocks UI works. It's effective. And, I'm starting to set up for interesting times ahead. But in general, Seraphim Station is a pretty good station. Bittersweet, though. And it does the job, but the hangars just aren't ideal. I'm more excited about the location, and I was very excited about the PO location. So now on to the usual things. There is food and drink right nearby where you're going to spawn your ships, like where the ASOPs are and where the hangar elevators and dock elevators are. like usual, the AI is less than good. And I mean, that's across the board. You might have an AI that talks to you once in a while. And so far, there's a lot of new character animations for the NPCs and stuff that are coming out, and more conversations and things like patrons and people going to stores and such. And it's going to be interesting, but this is me testing the distance it is from where you spawn at the habs all the way over to where you spawn the ship. And this is the one thing I think this station did nail.
Welcome
Is
to the ASOP vehicle retrieval system.
It's kind of a tale of two stations. The hangar experience is not that great, but you just saw in just a few seconds flat, we were able to get all the way from where you spawn in, go down the elevator, to get to the location where you're there. It's not quite the same as jumping off of the staircases like back in the PO days. I'll put a video at the end if you don't know. Wow. If you've never been to Port Alisar before. It's wild to even be able to say that nowadays. But this is what was pulled out of just in this patch cycle to get rid of PO to make way for Seraphim Station. Seraphim is the new PO. Won't be for many of us, but for all intents and purposes, it replaces it. You can see that Hurston Dynamics advertisement there for one of their locations. But that's obviously not in Loreville. Loreville, at least in, well, lore, was supposed to be one of many. It was like a model city. It was supposed to be LOR. It was supposed to be like the designation for like a modular type of system, and they were going to build Lorevilles like over and over again in different places. But they only ever managed to build one, well, Loreville. So Loreville, the first of its name, became the only one of its major cities. That doesn't mean that Hurston Dynamics doesn't have outposts all over Hurston, the planet that they own, the planetary system they own, to be exact. I mean, they have outposts all through the moons as well that are named after their family. If you're ever bored, go to the business district and go into Constantine Hurston's office and check out the paintings on the wall on the right side. The names of the moons are literally the names of their people that are in their family, and the history of their company and their family that are intertwined are all in there. I thought this was really cool. I was picturing this being scenic. So Ash, if you ever watch this, check this out. Gemini, check us out. I was picturing like you do like an action shot and she's the hero. And it zooms in and she's got like an urgent Moby Glass call. Here's another one of this couple. I was like picturing them like talking about something like in a drama type show. So I'm having fun with some of the new character animations and how they're kind of doing their thing. I think there's going to be more of these. This one's not that great because I'm trying to give it like some structure with that tree in the foreground, but it's not that great. The other two were pretty good though. So anyway, what I'm starting to notice is there seems to be a lot more setting spots, like places where you could set up for machinimas, just cool places for you and your friends to form up. And yeah, it's something. I'll tell you that much. I've become more and more a fan of these smoothies. I forget if they are both food and drink, or I think it's a bit of a drink and a bit of food, and it's not caffeinated, so it doesn't have any of the negative side effects. If you ever were curious about whatever you pick up, be sure to go into the more info and take a look at it. But as we sit there and we say drink, food, etc., they're more of just, more RP elements. They're nice to haves. I look one more time at the Big Benny's fun little system there. It's a nice touch. It's one of the few things that's truly unique to each station is some of the holograms that they set up in the station areas, which is nice. You can see the vehicles they parked in the middle. It's not uncommon to see two of them stacked up like this, but it's a nice touch. You can't rent or buy them from here, which is a shame, but it's nice. Sometimes you'll even see Drake Dragonflies and such stacked up, kind of put there, one of them anyway. And one of the side things about it is, it's a shame you can't sit in the seat, although I know why you can't sit in the seat.
Hi. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with.
This is me trying to proc the second chain of questions or discussion or something with an AI. There's a player confused, probably. If you see in the locked area there, one of the reasons that I do look at those locked-in areas is because, for example, that's a shooting range in there, and it's still not accessible. So I'm always hoping that there's a little Easter egg or something, or it's glitched so you can get in there and get a good look at it and check it out. Like some of those interesting places. I also wish, like, for what it's worth, I wish the game had like bowling alleys and other neat stuff. It'd be fun to maybe do in the bar, axe throwing or something, or hologram axe throwing. As it is, there's video games that are in the bars and restaurants and stuff, and they're inaccessible, unfortunately. They're there, they're colorful. I mean, there's also a pool table or snooker table. I don't know which one it is, but it's there. It's a shame. Now, one of the other things, we were just talking about this on Naz's round content creator roundtables, that, you know, it would be cool. We have dice in the game now. We have little mini figurines. It would be interesting to be able to do tabletop games. Thinking about that, you know, taking it a step further, it'd be cool to be able to say that snooker or pool table. You know, players can like put like a covering over it or click a button and it becomes like just a giant table to be able to use for tabletop games. Just the basics. It'd be really fun to start seeing those type of things. If you ever wondered how's that's possible, well, we already have the rolling dice now, and they're sophisticated, pretty sophisticated dice. Some of them are bigger and smaller, to be fair, but you know, if you got some D6s and D20s, you can do some fun stuff, especially if you combine them with other players. And CIG could even sell like little kits, and I would do like, I would ideally there would be like a set of just, you know, simple dice, just black with white writing or something, to painted in the lines, for free. Like you can buy that with UEC, and then the lit up ones that are real cool looking and unique colors and stone looking ones and stuff would then be, you know, something that you could buy as a subscriber or on the store by everybody. You know, it'd be ideal to have both, because then all of a sudden anybody can play the game, and if you want some really out there stuff, you can buy that. But there, honestly, there should be, now that I'm thinking about it, there should be more than one color of dice available, buyable with UEC. And yeah, it'd be fun. Once again, that's an example of like dynamic gameplay, and I think it's more just a proof of concept than actually plausible to have like a whole campaign or something inside the game. As it is, you'd have to have like some support Discord channel or something else that would like keep up with everything else and share information outside a game in order to keep you in game running correctly. But it's nice to see nice little touches like that. I think those games are going to be very interesting, especially for people transiting these massive jump points, by the way, and into long quantums. So that's a whole nother topic that's really, right now, very interesting. I have seen no less than 2 different videos where people ran out of fuel taking ships like Pisces all the way out to the Stanton-Pyro jump point, and that's the close one. When you start thinking about the distances here, 54 million kilometers. We've, you know, the sheer lengths of time. Some of them are over 100 million kilometers, give or take, between, like, for example, the Magnus and Terra jump points. It's a massive distance. This right here becomes a ridiculous situation. But I want to show you stuff I usually will edit out of a PTU video. Usually I have, you know, you think my videos are long form now? Wait till you see one of my bugs. But this one's just so funny, I gotta at least include part of it. And as I almost forgot my helmet. So the 890 is sitting inside the dock room. So if you didn't know this, when you use a dock on a station, it's supposed to be a room right there with like waiting areas, like seats and stuff. like a whole room full of seats and a dock. But in my infinite judgment, I decided I'm just gonna slip out there, even though it's broken, and I'm gonna try to use the try to leave anyway in this 890. And spoiler alert, it didn't go too well. So I use an alternate elevator that's not the docking collar entry point. And I could have used the docking system on the other side of the ship. The 890 is blessed in a weird way where it has docking ports on both capital size docking ports, or big size docking ports on both sides. I don't know if they're capital. I don't want to get caught in an infinite loop of people calling me out on that statement. They're very large docking ports. The designation, whether they're large or capital, I'm not quite sure. But they are significant in size to the game and to me. Although, who knows? The Jav docking ports may be even bigger. I'd have to check that during Fleet Week and like physically walk up to it and take a look. You can see like literally the building itself is collapsing in on the ship. But I still tried. I gotta get points for trying, I think. So once again, the PTU is not perfect. When I tell you jump on in, go explore, go do this, be prepared for a lot of weird things to happen. And sometimes things are fine until they're not. Like this patch, docks completely got messed up. So what's happening is the ship spawned basically partially inside the station. So the rest of the ship, that I'm able to have for, I'm viewing it from the advanced camera settings, and I'm able to see like the significance of the situation and the problem that has occurred. And I'm realizing this is probably not going to work out too well. But I did learn something interesting. So the station docking port apparently like has like an anchor point, so to speak, that's like in a specific spot. Because if I give it enough power when I remember to scroll wheel up, things get really weird. But yeah. So this is Seraphim Station that I'm still stuck at in this video. And you can see that if I give it enough power with the afterburner at like full blast, I realize I can start pivoting. And I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, at least I think. So you'll start seeing like the anchor point that is apparently stuck on the ship, or just the ship's pieces that are stuck, is not letting go for dear life. But boy, did I try. Even the power of these massive thrusters, main thrusters, is not enough to handle Seraphim Station. And this is why you shouldn't be undocking or docking in this patch. So by about this point, I realized that this isn't going to work out. And I'm just saying, okay, well, I tried. At least I gave it the old college try here. And I abandoned ship. But abandoning ship is not as easy as you think in this thing. Because when you're in a station, it seems very smooth on and off. But unlike Port Olisar, when you have a docking mechanism, the door is basically locked shut behind you to protect the station from like trolls or something sneaking on or off or something, I guess. So while you can easily abandon ship, you can notice that there's significant damage to the ship. Luckily, it's PTU, and I'll never have to deal with it, but yeah. You can't necessarily just go in the door. So I did not edit it out or something. I literally just don't have video of me leaving the ship and whatnot. And honestly, that's probably for the better. These videos get massive. The raw files are like 6, 7, 8 gigs in size in many cases. So I kind of have to pick and choose my battles and pick the best content to really work with. but I try to leave enough what's called coverage to complete a video, and because stuff can just happen. There is an instant replay mode that I'm experimenting with, but I'm never quite happy with it because it covers like only a few minutes at a time, and you can set the timer, but I don't know, it just doesn't fit me as well. I like to just hit record, not worry about it, and like 20 minutes later remember I'm still recording and think, okay, well, at least in editing I can save this. But this is the interior of Seraphim Station. Didn't intend to go in here, and yes, it is very dark. That's literally how it looks in there. What you have to remember is that this was never intended to be like a place that players like go into. And actually, some of the openings are collidered in a way that they're solid. And what I mean by that is you can't get your player character to fit through the openings, even if they can fit through the opening. They act like there's an invisible wall there, which is frustrating to say the least. But the point is that the station is really, really, really big, and it does have some explorable geometry. So if you're trying to get in here to check it out, go through the side openings that look like they're big enough to almost fit like a snub fighter, and that's the one you want to go into. I honestly do believe you could probably fit a space bike in here. But if you look here, I'm trying to fit through these hatches. These ones have a blockage, but this one back here shouldn't. And I think I even do advanced camera, and I still cannot look around, and I'm like staring at my character, and it's like keeps just bumping into the freaking ceiling, like as if something's there that's not there. So, yep. So it's not just the edge geometry, it's also like literally, it's like a solid wall of material. It was never intended to be a opening. See how the head just knocks even though there's nothing there? I tried feet first. I was like, okay, well, maybe it's got like some type of weird gravity. Nope. Because it is interesting to note that the circle stations are not just, they are supposed to be really cool, but one of the more interesting things with the circle stations is they're supposed to have like basically spun up gravity on the circle parts, the outer parts. And it should be noted that that's kind of interesting from a social dynamic. Now, in the game, we have like gravity plates. You don't need to walk around with grav boots like in the show The Expanse or something, or any of that kind of stuff. But because there's supposed like artificial gravity creation you can do. But the spin stations, in theory, are doing that to have extra gravity over that. I don't know. Once again, rule of cool is probably valid here. So those weird ominous things on the right side, they're turrets. So one of the big differences between Seraphim and your old school PO is that most of the turrets are on the outside of the structure, and they have great firing arcs. So it should be noted that the turrets are like mainly situated off the station now. And that's an interesting displacement, because on PO, a significant amount of the firepower PO had was like sitting on the pads. So you have these situations where people can like hide behind this geometry of the station, do dastardly deeds, and like the turret couldn't hit them in time or whatnot. So the turret being able to sit off station and hit below, above the pads, around the circles, there's really not, as far as I know, I haven't tested it, I haven't got shot at it by it, but it looks like there's significant amounts of protection here at Seraphim. A lot like the Jumpgate stations have significant amount of protection. I'm not saying pyro level protection, but I am saying that it's here, and it is a nice touch. I think that CIG should continue that trend and look at other stations as well. And because once again, Stanton is supposed to be like super high security, controlled environment, and these are big stations. This is the station that supports all of Crusader, you know, and obviously technically the city of Orison, the most practical place on Crusader, the gas giant. Now, you can't get in here, as I noted. It's kind of annoying, but I can still get out of here. So I've given up on the 890. I've given up on the docking collar. So where can I go? Well, the answer is, if you find yourself in my situation, because you didn't listen, or you did, or I don't know, is you can go to the pads. So there is still pads here, because hangars and docking collars tend to block you out when you're not actually attached to a ship and officially attached to the pad, to the docking collar or the hangar. The doors are closed, the doors are locked, etc., etc. But the pads are not. I want to speed this up a little bit after I do my little expanse feature here of the floating character in space. And get to the really fun parts. This game has consistently taken my breath away and always given me excitement just trying to solve the puzzles of its bugs, let alone the actual content. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like that the Fox and Hound where you can't be mad at the fox or something in the cartoon movie. You just can't be mad at this game. At least I can't. Can't stay mad at it. This was particularly fun, flying past the commercial landing areas that you can't use, getting over to the player available pad here. It's well lit and indicates itself, and has that nice door, that all important door. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine, that this is a brand new station and it doesn't have emergency access doors all along it. Honestly, the station of this size, there's no excuse to not have just maybe 3 or 4 different stops on the elevator added that are in unique places. And honestly, the docking, most of that could be fixed by just having the docking collars. You can literally go in a side door or something so you can get back inside if you end up EVA'd by accident. These stations are massive, and you go by so many cosmetic doors that are useless. It's very frustrating. And just to be clear, I know that the full interior is not rendered out on these stations, but come on, you could add a second elevator even. You could have an elevator that just teleports to different places that are necessary to be these emergency doors. Or once again, put an emergency door on each one of the hangars and on the docking collars so people have an extra access point. You can even dress it up, like put authorized personnel only, but everybody knows it's just there in case you fall out of the station. So, long story made short, claim system acts a little weird when you have this docking issue. I can't help you because I couldn't help myself with that. But long story made short, shortly after this, I broke out a Carrack, got it out of a hangar, and took that over to Magnus, which is going to be my part 2. So thank you very much for riding along with me on this video. I really appreciate a lot of the feedback I've been taking. I hope it shines through. And if you like this, of course, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And if you didn't like it, comment below, or if you did like it, that'd be cool if you commented too. But just give me some feedback about what you like, what you didn't like, and what you'd like me to cover. It's the FPS type gameplay. Do you want me to cover some of the upcoming concept ships that are going to hopefully be flyable soon? Do you want me to cover something really left field for me? I can cover my favorite armor sets or something like that, and what I think will be good in Pyro for FPS type gameplay and kind of the fast twitch type stuff we're going to probably be facing at these small outposts that you may find yourself landed at with not so savory folks, but also need some range. So that's some fun stuff we could talk about. I like to have those discussions, and I think these videos really prompt them really nicely. And that's it. Thank you again. And if I don't see you in the next video, fly safe.